welcome to this, and this is an actual TV episode review. Yes, I know I say I don't like doing these, but there is an exception, and I've done these before, which is the NWA Wrestling Showcase. Last year, of course, was the first season, I guess is what we would call it, and I would say I championed it, but I did tell people that they should check it out, because I did think that the wrestling was okay to good for almost every episode. You definitely, I wouldn't say you got the high quality matches that you would from TNA or WWE from that side, but you didn't get the crap. You got, almost everything was okay to good, and the storylines I thought were very good considering how basic they were, and I thought they did their job very well, and I thought the show was just overall just a decent 1 hour wrestling show to watch, which is something that we don't always get. So I did talk about it, and I've talked about it since. I've waited for them to do basically new episodes, and finally we got them. I don't believe the first episode has aired yet, due to the fact that apparently every episode was done in HD, and then when they sent them to Colors, which is where it airs, is the station that airs on, they don't air in HD, and so they had to basically reformat the video, and that's pushed everything back a week. But the NWA has started uploading the episodes online, and you can actually find them on their website. Though on their website, I believe the last, I want to say maybe 5 to 10 minutes is edited off for some reason, though they have uploaded the complete episode now, up here on YouTube, and I'll put the link to their to their YouTube page, which I would recommend everybody subscribe to anyways, because it is a fairly good page, and I have said before, I think the NWA does have a place. I think that it does have a use. I don't know if they agree with that use that I would say, but I definitely think as a name, and particularly as kind of a brand for indie wrestling, to where fans can say, hey, it's an NWA show, which means that it's not going to be a ripoff, which is sometimes the case with a lot of indie wrestling shows, as I'm sure lots of people have heard horror stories from indie wrestling shows, or have seen, there's been a few documentaries that have covered indie wrestling shows, and you see just the horror stories that can happen. But, all that said, so I do think there's a place for them, so I would recommend checking that out as well. As I said, the first season I thought was fairly good. I thought that they had a fairly good storylines. They were very basic, fairly old school, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I thought that the booking was very good, and served its purpose of building up kind of the guys they had on television to a very good degree. The main feuds were, of course, Adam Pearce and Brent Albright, and also, I guess, the Real Americans, if I remember right, I think that's what they were called, of Joey Ryan and Carl Anderson versus Los Luchas. Those were the two main feuds, and they came off very well. And so now we're starting, I guess, Season 2, I would say. And again, the episodes apparently are going to be continually done in a studio in California, which is probably a good thing. They're going to be taped by Big Vision Entertainment, such as the first ones I believe were, and they're going to be distributed DVD-wise that way. So that is a good thing. And that's kind of how it started. So here is the first show that we saw. The opening scene was pretty good. The production values, I would say, are on some levels much better than ROH, and on some levels not as good as ROH. So probably kind of a mixed bag, probably about the same level as. And when I say ROH, I mean the newer, particularly pay-per-view quality that we got, at least from the last pay-per-view, we'll probably continue to get. And then once they get on TV, we'll have to wait and see there. But my only real gripe with that is that they did advertise that Brent Albright was going to be on the show. He was not on the show, so that was kind of eek. And then they ran to the announcers. This is the first show, and one of the announcers was apparently on assignment, as they put it. So that wasn't all that kind of good either. That's kind of a little flub. But we go from there. The announcing was for this show, I would say not too great. It was okay, but it served its purpose. I will say that. But definitely not. It wasn't grating, but it wasn't something that was all that wonderful. I think the announcing team from the first season was a little better. But anyways, the first match we got was the Axel Bros, which were basically two guys who were dressed up like Axel Rose, very much like the Rock and Rave connection. And because of this, we got lots and lots and lots of Guns N' Roses puns that got old very quickly. Versus the Young Bucks, most people have probably seen the Young Bucks before. This was basically what I would call a prolonged squash match, similar to what you would have seen old school Crockett NWA, with particularly the Rock and Roll Express, which is a good thing because the Young Bucks did a lot of Rock and Roll Express-like moves. If you've ever seen the Young Bucks, they're definitely a high-flying team. We didn't see a lot of that. We saw a lot of real basic high-flying moves, nothing very flashy. The match was okay. It was what it was, and served its purpose of getting the Young Bucks somewhat over, but I don't think there was enough flashy moves. I think it was a little too old school, I think. But they did hit their finisher, the more bang for your buck, which is a fairly flashy finisher, and it worked out very well, and led to the next match, because at that point the NWA Tag Team Champions, the Skull Krushers, which is very much a team that is designed to be reminiscent, they even made the comparison to the Road Warriors, a very big, strong, nasty team that just beats the crap out of people. And they came out and basically punked the Young Bucks. And then when we came back from commercial, or from the break, it was the Skull Krushers taking on two jobbers. I know on a lot of my videos people have talked about the fact that there needed to be true squash matches. This was the definition of a true squash match, as Chris Kadillak versus Roger Ruiz basically got their butts handed to them during this match, and the Skull Krushers looked extremely dominant and like just complete world beaters. I had not seen the Skull Krushers before. I had seen one of them, which is Keith Walker, who had wrestled in Pro Wrestling Noah. Pretty good. I'd say an okay big man, but I think in this role he looked pretty good, and so I would imagine that's going to be one of the feuds we're going to get, is the Young Bucks, the fast, young team, very much in the limelight, very much in the vein of the Hardy Boys. A lot of people, say, hey, look, it's Hardy Boys 2.0 when they see them, versus these guys. So, and I think they could probably have pretty good matches. So there you go. And then after that, we got a promo by Adam Pearce, doing what Adam Pearce does best, which is does a promo. Though this was not the best Adam Pearce promo I've ever seen. It served its purpose, as the main event of the evening was going to be Adam Pearce versus T.J. Perkins, and he went off and did a pretty good job, but not. He's definitely done better NWA promos that they've put up on the YouTube site, I would say. So this wasn't necessarily the best, but it served its purpose. We came back and T.J. Perkins got his promo, which is not what T.J. Perkins does best, but it served its purpose and was kind of showed him as the spunky babyface, I guess. Then we got Jerome Robinson versus Mr. Wrestling 4. Mr. Wrestling 4 is meant to be, if any of you saw Wrestling Society X, which I'm sure some of you probably did, and I would recommend you guys checking out if you haven't, because it was a fairly different and okay television show, in my opinion. But Mr. Wrestling 4, they pretty much stated was supposed to be their version of Matt Classic, which was the Colt Cabana character in Wrestling Society X, who was supposed to be the 50s wrestler in today's world. And I don't know who they got to play Mr. Wrestling 4. And I've never seen him wrestle, so it just may not have been a good match. But he definitely was not Colt Cabana. He definitely was not as good as probably he should have been. But I haven't seen him wrestle. That's the first time I've ever seen him wrestle, so it's kind of not fair to judge. But I definitely would say he's not as entertaining and not as good. And they did make the reference. They went down and talked about that. He was meant to be like Matt Classic. So this was probably my least favorite match of the show. I thought it kind of dragged and wasn't as funny or entertaining as it should have been, but I guess what are you going to do? From there, we got to the main event, which was Adam Pearce versus T.J. Perkins. And if you've never seen the NWA, Adam Pearce has a manager by the name of Vander, Pyle, a very big, large gentleman who is his manager. Adam Pearce came out, was probably the most over guy, with the Young Bucks being on this show being the second most over, and then T.J. Perkins came out, and they had a little match. And it was okay. T.J. Perkins didn't do a lot of his high flying that he normally did, but he did do a lot of his kicks and that sort of thing, and a lot of fast, speedy offense. Pretty much old school, Perkins doing some flashy moves, and then Adam Pearce doing a lot of chokes, a lot of wear down moves, a lot of slow wrestling, getting Perkins on the outside, Vander Pyle getting involved. It was an okay match, not as good as I had thought it would be. I thought this would be a pretty good main event, and it just wasn't quite there, but it was still passable, I would say. As far as the overall episode, I would say that this wasn't as strong as some of the shows before, on, I guess, the first season of the NWA Wrestling Showcase, but it definitely wasn't horrible either. I would say it was just kind of... This is more of probably what I expected from the first season, of what I thought it was going to be, as far as quality and whatnot. But, this is just the first show, so we'll have to see what the next show will be, as Blue Demon, who is currently the NWA champion, will be on that show. So, and I'm sure a few other people. They did bring in, I know, and I can't remember off the top of my head who all they brought in for the tapings of this, but I do know that they brought in some good people. So, I would imagine we will eventually get some fairly good matches, and it'll probably be, it'll be what it would be. I would say the only thing that I really didn't like was that on the original show there was a lot of nice filler, like stuff like the champion, who the champions were, little profiles about who the current title holders were, and that sort of thing. We really didn't get that. That was one thing I really liked. They did, I believe they did I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't remember them doing, promoting a lot of local events. They might have, but on the bottom of the screen, but I don't remember off the top of my head them doing that. As I watched a lot of this show a couple days ago, and if you watch it on the website, on the NWA website where they have posted this, the last, I think I talked about this, last like 5 minutes of the show was cut off, so I had to wait until they uploaded it up here on YouTube, and they have the whole thing up here on YouTube. So, but definitely I would check it out, see what you think. Is it the greatest thing ever? No. It's probably not even as good, I would say, as some of the stuff that was from last year, but it is the start, so we'll have to wait and see what the next episode is like. But it was okay. There was nothing mind-numbingly stupid, and there was nothing that just, there's nothing that insulted your intelligence. There's probably stuff on here that will bore some people, I would definitely say. But if you just want to check out something different, and you just want a little, a fix for your wrestling, your wrestling fix for a while, there's definitely worse things I could definitely say watch. But I'll put a lot of the links up in the profile, but like I said, not as good as the stuff from last year, but like I said, it was the first show, but we definitely started to see some developments as Pearce basically calling out Blue Demon, and we saw the Young Bucks and the Skull Krushers kind of start maybe a little feud there. So we'll just have to kind of see where it goes, I guess. But overall, I definitely not something that would not make me watch the other show, but I just not as good as I thought it might be. But so I was kind of disappointed, but definitely not something that would make me not watch the other shows. But anyways, with that, I am out. Have a good one, and later.